Hello and welcome to 7 Super Series. I'm Ben for the Bonehead podcast and this is the Match 10 preview. Seven Super Series is our escalation league for the best way to play Blood Bowl Sevens. Sevens is a fast play variant with a smaller pitch, smaller teams, shorter halves, but bigger gameplay. We've got 5 teams facing off against each other across 10 weeks, then we'll take the top 4 teams and through a series of knockout playoff games, determine the 7 Super Series 3 champion. This is an escalation league, so no permanent injuries, and before each game a team plays, they will receive a single skill depending on their team tier. Every week on 7 Super Series, we will have a preview video detailing the upcoming game, and our next game is our final game in the regular season anyway. And it's an interesting one because we are going to see Ian Warhammer return to run his beautifully painted Stone Valley Saber Tusks, our Ogre team, and he's going to be taking on me, running the Lothan Legion, our Elven Union team, beautifully painted by Bloodtithe Ben, but you mean everything Ben paints is beautiful. Now, the reason this is an interesting match is because we are about to go into the playoffs, and the playoffs will be taking the top 4 teams. One of those teams will be one of these teams. So currently, we've not done a very good job showing the standings. We'll work on that for next season. Both of these teams are bottom of the league. This is a very clear win and in for either of these teams. If it comes to a loss, you are probably not going to see the losing team into the finals. And if it comes to a draw, it's going to be a case of tiebreakers to determine which of the 4 teams do go forward. So we've got our heavy-hitting Ogre team and our, in theory, fast, agile, scoring heavy Elven team facing off against each other. Let's have a look at the rosters. So the Stone Valley Saber Tusks, we're in round 5 now, so maxed out at skills. We've got a Runt Punter with block and leader to get that reroll for the team. We've got 2 Ogre blockers, both of them with block as well now. So 3 of these big guys on this team, and all of them have got block. So expect to see a lot of block and mighty blow. And one of the Ogre blockers, has actually got block and break tackle. Now break tackle is a great skill on an Edge 4 Strength 5 plus piece. On an Edge 5 piece or Edge 6 piece, it's not worth taking, but Edge 4 gives you +2 to it, so it gives you a 2+ open field dodge for this Ogre blocker, which basically makes a monstrous blitzer. That's a 2+ to activate, 2+ to dodge into the open field. Yeah, sure, you're only movement 5, but you're strength 5, you've got block, and you're going to be hitting with that mighty blow as well. Now, that roster is backed up by 8 Noblar heroes and 1 Desperate Measure. So the Desperate Measure will be rolled just at the start of the game, and it could be great. It could not be. It could be foul as many times as you like. It could be a wizard. We've seen these throughout the season. They've been great. When they've been remembered, they can change things, and it's going to be a really interesting one. So block on the 3 guys, plus an integral bit of reroll there with leader, and break tackle means that all 3 of these ogres are just so powerful. Now, the downside of this roster is the Noblars. Now, Noblars, generally speaking, really good. Okay, sidestep, dodge is a really great combination, as we'll talk about when we come to the Elven team. But the fact they're titchy means that they force dodge rolls, but they don't force negative modifiers to those dodge rolls. Now, when you're playing against an elf team, that means that the elves are going to be making 2+ dodges wherever they go. Now, that can be prohibitive. It can force some dice to be rolled, and in 7s that's always a really useful thing. But when you're rolling 2+, there is a likelihood that's going to go okay. So we've got 3 ogres on this roster who are normally backed up by a gaggle of dudes just blocking up the ground. The elves are not going to find that quite so much, so the ogres here are going to have to do a little bit more work than they might. But they're also strength 5 with block and mighty blow. So any of those ogres hits home, and it's going to be bye-bye to the elves. And talking of the elves, the Lothan Legion have also capped out of 5 skills now. We've got 2 Elven Blitzers, Movement 7 and Block Step, and one of them is now a Blodge Stepper. So we've got a bit of dodge on there. We just talked about the Gnoblars not giving negative penalties. That Elven Blitzer there with Sidestep and Block Step now is going to be great for just taking out Gnoblars and working his way through them. We've got an Elven Thrower with Leader again to get that integral reroll onto the pitch, and we've got an Elven Catcher who is a sneaky, very good player. Movement 8, Strength 3, and now with Block and Dodge as well. 3 Lion Elves back up this roster, so 7 players in total, and one of them has got Kick. Now, Kick is a great skill in Blood Bowl 7s. It's a great skill in Standard Blood Bowl, to be fair, and with a fast roster like this, look for Kick to be used to drop the ball either right at the back to force that Ogre team to delay, or very close into the neutral zone to allow the elves to press in and try and turn that ball over and get a quick score. 2 dodge pieces. Everybody here is moving 6, 7 or 8, Edge 2+. This is a team that can capitalize on every kind of opportunity. The downside is there's no armor here, there's no resilience, there's 3 block pieces, 2 dodge pieces, there's a bit of skill resilience, but if those ogres can get into contact with any of those players without combat skill, it can be a massive vulnerability. So look for the ogres to potentially target the thrower to get rid of the leader reroll and those line elves, because with no skills they're just 2 die blocks. You've got block, that's a 75% chance of knocking somebody down to the ground, and when you've got mighty blow with armor 8+, that's a 56% chance of it being at least a stun. So the odds are really good for an ogre to take on a line elf. However, Line Elves can just disengage on a 2+, so it's going to be a really interesting one. If the ogres can catch this team and the dice provide murder, this team is not going to be able to do anything. But if these elves can stay away from the ogres long enough, with that bit of dodge, with that bit of block kicking around, there's some good skills here, there's some very good players here. This is going to be a much fairer game than it looks on paper. Okay, so let's have a look at the Viewer Championship. So there's game 10, 2 semi-finals, and a final left to go. So 4 games left, and we want you to guess the outcome of the game. And by the outcome, I mean who's going to win, / if it's going to be a draw, and what each team's score is going to be. You will get 3 points if you get the outcome right. If you say it's going to be a draw, or you say the elves are going to win, then you'll get 3 points, and then you'll get a bonus point regardless of the outcome for each team whose score you guessed correctly. So if you say it's going to be a 1-1 draw but the ogres end up winning 1-0, you'll get no points for the draw, 1 point for getting the ogres to say 1 touchdown, and 0 points for the elves. So you still score a point. Now it's a maximum of 5 points per round, and there's 4 rounds left to go, so that's a maximum of 20 points left to score. Now, we've been curating the spreadsheet that I hastily built to look after the scores as we've gone through the series, and I think it's about right now, so let's have a quick look at our leaderboard. First place, Trevor Turner with 25 points, Adam Pike with 24, Joe Mama with 23, 4th place, 22 points, Brad Barrett, Stevie 126, 5th place, Dean Wilson, Gecko 8, Panenka 76, 20 points, Justin Kostelak, Mike G, Tom Wheatley, 7th place, Adam Wilcox, and a bunch of others. So we've got a few players there at over 20 points. Everybody else is sitting under. So that means if you have got 5 points or more, you can spike this and take the leaderboard, because points will win prizes at the end of the season. We'll do the full Star Wars scroll at the end of the video as well. Okay, I have loved both of these teams in this season, and it is sad to think that there's a possibility that one of these will be put away in the cupboard. I mean, it's going to be Ben's cupboard or Ian's cupboard, so Tiff's happier about that, because I have many Blood Bowl teams in my cupboard. So what do I think about the matchup? We kind of talked about it. The ogres have got a murderous advantage here, but Gnoblars, it's probably because I've played so much ogres over the last few years that actually, and I've played a ton of snotlings too, that I have no fear of the Titchy, especially with Edge 2+. So the Gnoblars, while they're good and plentiful, are not going to cause much of an issue. With an Edge 3 team, they're a massive problem. You're having to make that dodge, and a 3+ dodge is never a good dodge. A cheeky 2+ every now and again, when you've got that leader reroll, when you've got 2 players with dodge on this roster for the elves, actually that's going to be okay. So as long as I choose my risks well, or rely on, you know, dodge leader to kind of pull it off, the Noblast screen shouldn't be a consideration too much. And with 1, 2, 3 block pieces, not only do I have to worry about the 3 ogres punching my elves, actually I've got 3 block elves who are going to get better dice against the Noblars. So there's going to be an interesting kind of hierarchy here. It just reminds me of Qui-Gon Jinn. There's always a bigger fish. The ogres are going to be picking on the elves, and the elves are going to be picking on the Noblars. And I think the most successful there is going to give a bit of an opening. Now, there's plenty of speed. There's plenty of skill for the Lothan Legion. But a couple of bad die rolls and a couple of good hits from the ogres. And as soon as this team is down 1, 2, 3 players, and it can cascade like that, it's kind of game over for the Lothan Legion, and it's going to be a really interesting one. Now, remember, I'm playing Warhammer here, so Ian Warhammer Hannam has run this team on this show and has run this team in League a lot. He knows what he's doing when it comes to ogres. I know what I'm doing when it comes to dash, so this is going to be quite an interesting one, and I cannot wait to see your predictions. I feel like you're going to give Ian an edge, and I quite enjoy being an underdog every now and again. Now, remember, get your guesses in by Saturday at 11 AM, because we'll put the game live around about lunchtime on Saturday for supporters, so YouTube members and Patreons, and it will be live everywhere else for Sunday, and then it will be onwards to the finals, which is really exciting, and I'm really happy with the timeline, because that means that Christmas is going to be finals viewing for the championship, which makes me super happy. Anyway, we've talked through the teams, talked through the coaches, talked through the viewer championship. I think it's best we wrap up this video, give my voice a bit more of a rest. Come on, Beachums, and we'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel even further, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Or come join us on YouTube members or in Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to some content, some loot, early access to basically everything we do, as well as regular competitions. Or you can pick up some Bonehead Podcast loot either on our website at boneheadpodcast.com. We've got the Dungeon Bowl things, we've got tokens and stuff like that, or on our Spreadshirt site as well. Everything you do just helps us make more content and hopefully do it of better quality. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy blocking.